Hello everyone, I'm Jeb and welcome to BRL PC Tier 1. Today we're at the Interlagos Circuit, 15 turns, BRL 4.3 kilometers. Sorry, some minor difficulties. There we go. And we're on board here with the Ferrari of Simply. Now today, alongside me in the commentary box, we have another commentator. We have Biggles here. So give him a warm welcome. Say hello, Biggles.
G'day. How you doing, mate? That's good. It's the first time we've commentated together. I'm looking forward to this. We've flown all the way. Well, we're from the Southern Hemisphere as well. Obviously, I'm Australian. You're from New Zealand. And we've flown all the way over across the Pacific to Brazil, Interlagos, one of my favourite tracks. And this is a first, isn't it? First for you and I for commentating. First for commentating for Breakout League Racing. I'm looking forward to this. Full grid, mate. Oh, it simply has a bit of a spin on his outlap as well. But yeah, first for us commentating, first for Breakout League Racing. I know you guys have been around a very long time, and I'm very excited to be a part of this crew. And guess what? I've just jumped on board to the Williams driver in P6, and he's spun as well. So I'm commentating curse all these guys off the bat, mate. How is that? So maybe you need to call the driver out there. I can't commentate curse them as they're going to do their initial banker laps.
Yeah, there's some strong drivers in this field. Of course, we've had Hooperlicious currently running away with the Drivers' Championship. He's 19 points ahead of BRL X here in second. Stars F1 just gets disqualified from the session. Of course, he's another driver who's only had, I think, 3 starts in this league, and he managed to win one of those 3 starts. So anything can really happen today. But Biggles, who do you think will be the top 3 today? Of course, we've got Hooperlicious, Julian, a few fast drivers in here, and I've been told that you know a couple. So have you got a couple that you think might run away with it today?
Well, the drivers that I do know off the bat that were fast would be, my likes would be Mr. Dougie Falcons at the moment. At set a time. Julian, I know, is super quick as well. And where is in there? I don't know, Hooperlicious you mentioned there as well. Striffham's got the pace. Can he bring it to the front runners? Wolfie has the pace there as well. Hennes is getting faster and faster as he progresses through at least the last year I've seen Mr. Hennes racing. But can he bring it to the top guns? But I have to say, well, Hooperlicious, as you mentioned, I don't know this driver. So he's obviously set the benchmark right now, a 107.1 ahead of Dougie. Dougie, I do know, is super quick. So if that's the benchmark that's been set, then yeah, these guys are the ones that you're going to have to basically dethrone if you want to get that provisional pole.
Yep, that's definitely the case. We've also got Cal the Goat, who's fresh off his pole position in Mexico, where he finished second, of course, behind the all-conquering Hooperlicious. And Hennes finished third after a really consistent race, no penalties. Fourth on track, third in the race. And we've said Striffian might have the pace to get up there, of course. In Mexico, it was a really unfortunate race for him. He made a few mistakes and fell to 9th or 10th, but he definitely had the pace to be up there in the midfield, so we might even see him contending up there today.
I'll tell you what, mate, yeah, I'm super excited about this grid because there's a lot of new names in here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what sort of results can. Brazil is always one of those tracks. I wish it was the last race like it used to be. We are seeing some drivers actually still setting sometimes on mediums rather than the softs, but I expect that they're going to switch over to the softs as those times start tumbling down. Hennes obviously setting the fastest lap at the moment. Hooperlicious I'm looking forward to. Call the Goat is actually just boxing at the moment on the mediums, but Dougie's done that time as well on the mediums. So interesting to see. Let's go to Striffham. He's on an outlap. Oh, there it is. I've commentated cursed him as well. Damn it. It's the 3rd driver now in a row that I've happened to jump on board with as he spun. Where was that? He spun through the middle section there. That's the uphill climb. But he's on an outlap. It's fine. He can get the tires cooled down and get ready to resume his flying lap as he's going to navigate into Sector 3 at the moment.
Yeah, we're seeing a definite divide here. There's a lot of pace difference between the soft runners and the mediums. If we look at just Hooperlicious, Hennes, and Dougie, for example, that's nearly a 6/10 gap between Hennes on pole and Dougie on the mediums. So whether Dougie wants to run with the alternate strategy and sacrifice some qualifying grid space for perhaps a better strategy overall than Hennes and Hooperlicious, who will be duking it out at the front, I'm not sure. But one thing's for certain, the mix of strategies here today is going to throw up an interesting race. And with a full grid of cars, you never know what's going to happen. You can't predict anything here at Brazil.
You can't even predict the weather as well. We don't know what sure the weather conditions are going to be like tomorrow, because one day it's clear in Brazil, and the other time it's completely wet. Because I live in Panama, I know what it's like living in the tropics, and it's certainly in the tropics and the southern, well, you know as well, in New Zealand, you can have changeable conditions. But we'll get on board with Striffham. Oh, and Striffham's had a bit of a spin. That's cooking it again, almost in the same position, identical to where he was in the last lap. So he's not liking that corner. Not sure what turn that is, but that's compromised his fast lap. So we're going to have to go on board and see if anybody else is on a flyer at the moment. Most of also another drivers are actually sitting invalidations as well. So that's something that they need to be very, very careful of.
Of course, the space where Triffium spun was the Curva de Sol, which is the highest undulating corner on the track. And you see he caught the grass there with his rear wheel. So that's something that the drivers are definitely going to be sort of looking after on their qualifying laps, just making sure they don't overextend track limits too much.
There you go. Thank you very much for knowing all your turn. You've done your research. I'm going to call you the Mr. Wikipedia of F1. What do you know about the Interlagos track, obviously, apart from the fact that it's a reverse grid, so it's a practically all left-hand, anti-clockwise track rather than the clockwise tracks. What else fun facts you know about Interlagos, as simply as going to cross the line and set his first time for this evening?
So Interlagos, it's a very sort of strange track, not so steeped in motorsport history as the previous Brazilian Grand Prix circuits of Jakarta. Oh, there's a car going off there on the skid pan to let Ruben through, sorry, interrupting my analysis. But yeah, Interlagos is a strange circuit. It's one of the shorter ones on the calendar. Definitely one to catch drivers off guard. Lots of undulations, lots of unsmooth sort of rough surfaces, but it's one where you can gain a lot of time if you know the tricks.
Yeah, I know those tricks that these drivers coming across the line. Ruben SA at the moment at P4 is setting personal best. Can he slid himself into the second row? I don't think he's going to get P1. You can see how close they get down the main straight to that wall. It's going to make an improvement there. He's still going to slot in a P3. Further back, it looks like that's the P7 of Martincello, there it is. If he's going to get personal best, can he improve on that? No, he won't. Call the Goat. We missed that one. He slots in, getting a fastest third sector. That's Call the Goat, just in behind Hennes. Go back to P8 at the moment. That's Calder's Monchen, if that is Monchen or whatever. 34.5 middle sector. Let me pull up some telemetry information here that I don't have up at the moment, and I can pull that up as he's going to go slowing down the main straight there. Hennis goes even faster again at 107. Can Colders improve on his time? No, he can't. But other times are tumbling down. Let's go further down. Julian, that's the driver I was telling you to look out for. He's going down the main straight. This could be a front row for Julian. Can he bring it to Hennis? Yes, he does. A 106.9. That's 0.2 almost quicker, but even faster behind is Hippolytus. You just mentioned that other driver. Sorry to cut you off because there's so much action going on at the moment. Mercedes driver, as they tuck up really, really close to this wall here, get the shortest path. Shortest path means the quickest path. And he goes just second to Julian and a 106.9.
Yeah, Julian, of course, he had his second place in Japan, and I don't think he contended in Mexico. But him and Hupalicious are probably the fastest cars on the track right now. And Julian has obviously been putting in some practice, been putting in the work, and he's 42 thousandths of a second ahead of Hupalicious. But there's still 8 minutes left in the qualifying session. The track is by no means gripped up, so we could be seeing a big exodus of cars from the pits in about 4 minutes or so, trying to just get that perfect lap in before the session ends.
It is, and Doug, speaking of perfect lap, Dougie might be the one to bring it to his teammate Hupalicious, and once more he wants to bring it to the McLaren driver of Julian, and I actually think Dougie's got this provisional pole at the moment because he's got the fastest middle sector. As he crosses the line, can Dougie be provisional pole? Yes, he does, a 106.7, so he shaves 0.2 off. As you mentioned, this track is gripping in right now, so these times are going to be tumbling.
It certainly is, and it's a incredible lap actually from Dougie, 1 minute 6.749. That's obviously a very fantastic time, and you've got Julian, who set his lap 2 minutes earlier or so. He's just a little bit in the dark right now, so he's going to have to wait until the track rubbers back up. And it's the same with Hoop, obviously, to take it back to Dougie.
Moroncello's unfortunately left the session. I don't know if it's a glitch or not. He has more time to come, but hopefully he'll be able to come back. We've only one driver at the moment that's been disqualified from the session. Maybe he's just felt that there was some sort of technical glitches. As we're on board with Jack at the moment in the Red Bull, he's going to get out of the way from his teammate. No, he doesn't get out of the way from his teammate. He hits his teammate. They've had a collision. He has more time to come. So you can see Christian Horner right now. Be come back. We only one driver landing his hand. That's going to compromise on the drivers as well. Some sort of technical glitches. As we're on board with Jack at the moment in the Red Bull, he's going to get out of the way from his teammate. No, he doesn't get out of the way from his teammate. He hits his teammate. I don't know if I have a replay of that one. Yes, I do actually. The replays are working. Be able to come back for that one. You can see this right now. The Red Bull Jack as he's going through the first couple of turns, absolutely on the full throttle, and it gets completely compromised by his teammate. He's going to get out of the way from his teammate. No, he doesn't get out of the way from his teammate. He hits his teammate. Go back to the lap. And the Red Bull more time to come, but hopefully be able to come back. We've only one driver at the moment that's been disqualified from the session. Maybe he's just felt that there's some sort of technical glitches. As we're on board with Jack at the moment in the Red Bull, he's going to get out of the way from his teammate. No, he doesn't get out of the way from his teammate. He hits his teammate.
Welcome, Jordan.
He has more time to come, but hopefully be able to come back. We've only one driver at the moment that's been disqualified from the session. Maybe it's just felt there'll be no excuses. Some technical glitches. As we're on board with Jack at the moment in the Red Bull, he's going to get out of the way from his teammate. No, he doesn't get out of the way from his teammate. He hits his teammate. That's KO. He got caught off guard by one of the other drivers.
Hopefully be able to come back.
We've only one driver at the moment that's been disqualified.
One driver
at
the moment that's been disqualified from the session.
Just not getting out of the way, catching that driver off guard. Gauze is actually with Jack at the moment in the Red Bull. He's going to get out of the way from his teammate. No, he doesn't get out of the way from his teammate. He hits his teammate. That's KO. He got caught off guard by one of the other drivers.
Hopefully be able to come back.
Just one driver at the moment. One driver at the moment has been disqualified. We can do this. There'll be no excuses and some technical glitches. As we're on board with Jack at the moment on the Red Bull, he's going to get out of the way from his teammate. No, he doesn't get out of the way from his teammate. He hits his teammate. That's KO. He got caught off guard by one of the other drivers.
Hopefully be able to come back.
Just one driver at the moment. One driver at the moment has been disqualified from the session. My apologies out there for any mistakes there. A little last-minute call that you and I had to fly into Brazil, into Lagos. Henderson at the moment improving on his second-best time, personally. Whether he can jump himself into the second... Yes, he does! Second row for Mr. Hannes, for the Ferrari driver. So that's impressive, getting credit and Hoopalicious. That's got to be a tall ask, and I don't know the Hoopalicious driver, but I'm sure Hannes would be very proud to be on the second row.
Yeah, almost certainly. Of course, you can see Hennes has been putting in some serious practice. He's only 0.03 of a second off Julian, which is the closest qualifying margin, I believe, on the current grid. Hoopalicious, of course, hasn't set another lap yet, though I do believe he is setting a hot lap now. Whether he will be able to get ahead of Julian and Hennes, and maybe even Dougie, remains to be seen. But I think if anyone can do it, it's going to be Hoopalicious who can.
At the moment, I'm seeing sometimes we're on board with the Williams driver of Mancinello, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Sorry if I botch it up. I'm very famous for botching up people's names. He's on a 16.6 first sector. Just behind him is Hoopalicious, you mentioned there. He's on a 16.5. But guess who's going faster? That's Julian. But we'll keep an eye on the Williams driver. He's going to cross the line now. And he should improve on his time. Only a little bit. No, he's not. He's actually in a box. Let's go further back to P4. Further up, actually, Hoopalicious, the Mercedes driver. He's going to cross the line. Will he improve on his time? He might a little bit, but I'll tell you one person that might be actually to bring it to provisional pole just slightly behind him as Hoopalicious does go P1, but guess who's going to go P1 at the moment? That should be Julian because his purple's all over the factor. There it is. Purple's 106.6 for Julian. 0.006. He likes the sixes. 0.066 seconds quicker than Hoopalicious, who just crossed the line. Only a fraction ahead of him.
Yep, I do believe that will be it. I'm not sure if there's enough time for Hoopalicious and Julian to pit and get another lap in before the end of the session. So that'll be it for Julian and Hoopalicious. And whether or not Dougie and Hennes and by extension Cal can quite catch up to that remains to be seen. But I do think it could happen because, you know, the track's still gripping up. It grips up every second. And every second is time. Time is money. So we could be seeing some profits here for Dougie, Hennes, and Cal.
Time is exactly money, isn't it? When you... Oh, as it's just gone aboard with Waffle. And Waffles just waffled it per se. Sorry, Waffle, with the bad puns. That's the other McLaren driver. That's the teammate of Julian, who's obviously has their provisional pole at the moment. Waffles basically just parked his car somewhere around the track. That's about the track. It's about the corner you mentioned where you get a little bit on the grass and you're in big trouble, as Waffle knows it right now. Let's see who else is going to improve. Let's see if Tiosos, can't pronounce that name. We're on the Haas driver in P10 at the moment. Can he improve on his time, personal bests? He doesn't at this point, but now it's the business end, isn't it? A qualifying. This is where you have to make or break if you want to bring it to the likes of Julian, Hoopalicious, Dougie, and Hannahs that are rounding out the top 2 slots on the front row of the grid. And they're all out on track, ready to put their blistering. And as the track rubber is in, the sky is beautiful here. The weather conditions, track is 30 Celsius. Air is temperature 22. It's beautiful. Like, at the moment, you'd rather be on a beach in Rio, wouldn't you, in Brazil? Hanging out with all the beautiful ladies. Except these guys are sweating it out in their cars.
Oh, yep, almost certainly. I mean, Brazil is traditionally one of the more humid and hotter races on the calendar. Drivers can lose up to 5 kilograms of sweat per race, as we see the AlphaTauri spinning off into the distance there.
Just trying to find a driver to go on board with at the moment, because most of the times aren't really tumbling down because they're on their out laps. They're getting the tyre temperature into those tyres, getting ready for that final blistering lap that you see, as you would see in the real F1. They want to get across the line to be the last to cross the line when the track is rubbered in the most that you'd mentioned before. And we'll see who is going to be one of the first drivers to cross that line and set the fastest time. We're going to go down to P6 at the moment. That would be Cal the Goat. He's got a 116.5 first sector. Now he needs to be in the 116.4, so he's only 1/10 down. And actually a few of the other drivers behind him. Well, Henna's is a little faster on that one, and so is Dougie. But we'll stay on board with this driver at the moment because he's going to be one of the first drivers. That's the Alfa Romeo driver that we're on board with, Cal the Goat. Can he improve on his time? Julian cannot, obviously. Hippolytus cannot because they already crossed the line. Although, there we go. So let's see if Cal can goat his way across the line and improve on his time from P7 and make his way up a little further in the grid. And he will. P4. So he'll be just on the 3rd row of the grid. And set the fastest 3rd sector as well. So that was very impressive to pull that one out. Anybody else? Sorry, a little bit. Anybody else improving on their times at the moment? I didn't really see it too much. P13 at the moment. They're in the pit lane. I don't actually think anybody else is really going to improve. Most people across the line at the moment, mate.
Yeah, of course, the only car I think is doing a hot lap right now is Striffium in the Racing Point. He's 16th, which is, of course, a little at odds with his usual qualifying pace. He was 4th in Mexico, but he does have a tendency to set a lap right at the death of a session, which can bite him in the arse, and it's happened a few times. But here he goes, coming up to the line, and it's going to be... And there we go, it ends. We'll just see right now as it comes up. 11th for Striffium, just outside the top 10. Of course, he'll have free strategy pick for the race.
That was impressive right towards the end as well, getting him his way up into P11. That's the Canadian driver. Also the man that runs Mr. MRL Racing League as well, so congratulations to him. But obviously take it away from the Julian, seeing the fastest lap, but only by 0.015, and then 0.066 from Hoopalicious, who is a driver I'm unfamiliar with, but obviously that's the pace, isn't it? The top 3 are separated by milliseconds almost. That's how quick they are. Call the Goat a little further down. Hennes, Ruben, Marcello, Cotters, KO, Simply, Striffium, Jack 5, Theos, I can't pronounce that name, Nestrov. These times are impressive, but you got to basically the top 8 separated by a second. So this is going to be an absolutely thrilling race. Any predictions out there? Hello, Jack Gribbs and Jordan. Obviously, you'd mentioned before, they mentioned this is going to be a dry race. Thank you very much. It looks a little overcast there, Jordan, sorry. Are you sure that this race is going to be completely dry? It is Brazil. It's a little unpredictable. Drivers are going to be loading themselves into the grid. What do you think about this one, mate? You know these unpredictable conditions. Obviously living in New Zealand, Jeb. And anything can happen in Brazil. We've seen it before in the championship. Eric, hello?
It's Exia, second place in
Exia.
the championship. He
Yeah.
can't race. That's really unfortunate.
Oh,
Oh dear.
that's Exia. Yeah. Sorry, mate. Looking forward to
But
seeing you in the next one. There's one more round, I believe, as well, isn't it? This is the
Abu Dhabi, yeah,
Abu
round
Dhabi.
21.
So hopefully you'll be there for that one. As the drivers will be getting their warm-up laps, they'll be having their calls from Jeff. They'll be going through their routines. Basically, these days, drivers are almost technicians, aren't they? Changing through all the conditions, getting the right brake point, the right clutch point, and so forth. Well, we're going to simulate that a little bit more than what the driver's actually going to get in the game. But still, they want to get one thing is crucial, one thing is real in this game is tire temperature. You want to get that tire temperature perfect before the little crossover point, before you get to the line where that engagement tells you that that is the temperature that you want to set your tires on as you're going to start the race.
Yep, they'll be hoping at least the soft runners to make rubber up the tires and make a clean getaway. Of course, Julian will be hoping to have a clean run down to the first corner and hope the Mercedes drivers will battle it out behind him. Of course, Dougie and Hooperlicious had really similar pace. They were less than 100th of a second off each other in qualifying, so it could be an intriguing battle to see which Mercedes driver comes out on top and whether they'll put their teammate struggles aside to battle Julian and the McLaren.
Exactly. Now, safety cars are probably going to be very, very predictable here with 20 drivers on the grid. There's not many league races that I've seen in the virtual world as Julian's basically parked his car on the side of there. Maybe he's signing autographs to his fans after that fantastic qualifying performance that he put in. And he's managed to get back in front there. Hopefully he's got his tyres all hooked up. Any predictions out there, guys, in YouTube world there that are watching right now as to what safety car predictions will be? I mean, it's going to be a matter of time. It's going to be when the safety car is, not if the safety car. With 20 drivers in the grid in Brazil, it's going to be a matter of time. You want to call the race start for this one, mate? Because you're going to take my breath away in Brazil. And, well, Carnivals is here, isn't it? It's here early. It's here in January. Let's see what's going to happen. There's McLaren to the left, and look out for the two Mercedes drivers just to the right there on the dirty side of the track of Dougie, and then Hopers. Go ahead.
Here we are. That's 5 red lights, and they're off. Julian getting quite a clean getaway, but Hooperlicious behind him, obviously in the slipstream, and Gauzy Egg for some reason is at the head of the interval, but I'm not sure about that. Julian is defending from, I do believe that's Dougie right behind him. Dougie's going to stick in the slipstream, but Hooperlicious gets a great run out of that corner and nearly gets ahead of Dougie, backs off slightly. I'm not sure what's going on with the
virtual safety car. That's why, because Cotters is running all the way back into P20 at the moment, so he's made a mistake somewhere on the track and he's catching up the field. But we still have all 20 drivers in this race, thankfully. But I imagine we were too busy focused on the start of this race to see what happened in the midfield. But everybody's clean for the first couple of corners, which is impressive.
Sorry about that, just a little disconnection.
So the virtual safety car has been deployed because of a little incident. Maybe some bit of carbon fibers on the track. Good FIA, making sure that safety is first for these drivers. Predicted pit stop strategies. Well, obviously soft to mediums, and we're race on again.
Oh, Striffium there getting a drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car. That's seriously going to hurt his race. It's a shame, though, because he got a good start. He went from 11th to 8th. Well done from him.
Hoopy's losing a position at the moment. Cal, the GOAT, is leading this race, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he is. I'm on board with Cal. Hoopalicious is running in P2. Hennes is showing is running in P3. Actually, no, there's a driver's up ahead, so maybe there's a little bit of a telemetry glitch as we expect. No, Cal is actually up there a little bit. Actually, Dougie's still leading this race. I'm getting a little excited with that telemetry glitch. But there you have it. Dougie from Julian, from Cal the GOAT, and Hoopalicious has lost positions, but that is confirmed because you can see that Mercedes driver running in P4 after his qualifying performance, showing Dougie has got past Julian to take the lead of this race.
It's certainly been an interesting start. We've had a few penalties, of course, several cars in the pits, probably from damage. And, Dougie has got ahead of Julian. Cal the GOAT coming up from 4th to 3rd. He'll be hunting down Julian and the McLaren. And Julian will be staying in the DRS of Dougie, of course. Interlagos is famed for being a DRS-heavy track. So there's going to be a major train here, starting from Dougie and extending all the way back to Marancello, maybe even in the Williams. So it could happen, but we can see Hoopalicious dropping back.
You can see at the moment, Cal the Goat behind Julian at the moment, who's behind Dougie. So Cal's done a fantastic start off the start of this. Sorry, I said start already. He's done a fantastic start, as you can see, gaining one position as well as Hannah's. The person that's lost out is Hoopalicious. He's losing another position as well, as you can see. And the battle that he's squabbling at the moment, he's losing a position to Hannah's and almost to Ruben. So what's happened with the Mercedes driver? And there's a spin behind from Ruben in P6. Now down to P7. The Renault driver losing a couple of positions. A bit of a tangle there.
Yeah, I think he got a little too ambitious there into the sweeping right-hander, and he just went into the side of Hoopalicious, spun right round. That's unfortunate for Ruben and the Renault.
Exactly. We have a replay of the start that we can show a little later on. There's too much action going on. As Dougie's leading from Julian. Julian's leading from Cole the Goat. And Hannah's is falling back a little bit now. Bit of a gap for forming. Actually, not... A little bit of gap forming between the drivers at the moment. And it looks like a move between P5 and P6. And yes, it is. It's Marcello around Hoopy. Hoopy dropping another position. Losing 3 positions from the start of this race already. Marcello, what is going wrong? The Mercedes driver. Does he have any issues? It looks like he has all the end plates attached to his car. But he's struggling big time with that Mercedes.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Usually, I mean, in Mexico, he started dead last and he won. You know, he was leading the race within 20 laps. So I'm not sure what cable's got not loose in his head today, but he doesn't quite seem to be driving right.
Oh, exactly. I tell you what, he's performing driving right now, which is a star. And the reason why he's a star, he's up 12 positions into P8, the Racing Point driver. And not to mention, he's all over the back of the Renault driver. And you can even see the Mercedes driver of Hoopy that's having all the problems as well. So what a fantastic start for the Racing Point driver on lap 4 of 36. As you see, the clouds are forming. He loves it. It's stormy. If you want to cook up a storm, cook up a Racing Point drive. As you can see, Ruben all the back of Hoopalicious as well. The Mercedes driver just absolutely struggling. And it looks like he's going to get overtaken too by the Renault driver. And we're going to have to go up further to call the gate because he's all the way on the back of the McLaren driver. So we don't have enough camera angles to cover all this exciting action. And we have a virtual safety car.
Yep, that's a bit of an oasis of calm and an incredible start. Of course, Stars F1 now 7th, actually. The Australian is one of the fastest drivers here. He's only made 3 starts, of course, as I mentioned before, but he actually managed to win one of his starts, and he's made up 13 positions since that disqualification and qualifying that might have been a glitch or a mistake. So well done to him.
Absolutely fantastic, isn't it? We like that. And as you mentioned, Australian, well, that makes me proud, obviously, as being an Australian as well. Now, DRS is enabled. Now, this is going to separate the men from the boys, isn't it? Because now that tow down that main straight, as you know, as they climb up the hill, that's where it's going to come into play. Let's see, Julian just behind Dougie at the moment. He's going to have that DRS tow. Dougie knows it. What are they going to do? What do you do as a driver to try to defend against that? Because that 17 kilometers an hour, I believe, difference is going to be a huge amount of speed. As you can see, Julian catching Dougie. He's not going to have enough pace. He's going to basically get into the braking point where he's going to be almost identical to the car's speed. Little lock-up from both the drivers. And actually, Hennis is boxing early at the moment, so I'm not sure if Hennis is damaged, but he's down into P8. A Ferrari driver, maybe taking a little bit of an opposite game, or maybe knows something about the weather we don't know. We'll see.
I do believe, actually, he got a drive-through penalty, possibly from the safety car. His name did come up on the screen, but I didn't quite catch whether it was a drive-through or not.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Obviously, maybe a little bit of a tangle with the cars, maybe under the virtual safety car, maybe at the start of the race. Still, Stasi doing a fantastic job in P6 at the moment. Up 14 positions, you can see. Most drivers gaining a lot of positions that are in the top 10. Hoopy, obviously, having a bad day in Brazil. Dropping 6 positions exactly as well. Julian just dropping 1 position from Dougie, but this battle's still on. It's only lap 36 of 36. Both of these drivers know it, as long as they keep it within that DRS range. Further back to field, there's a bit of a squabble. Obviously, Cotter's losing a lot of positions. Waffle's losing a lot of positions. KO and Stryfium, all are the bad losers of this one. And you can see Julian's got the DRS enabled as well as Cal. Cal's setting the fastest lap as well, catching Dougie. So now we have a Dougie Falcon train forming behind them. This is going to be a fantastic race up the front. 109.6 is the fastest lap that Cal had set. And that's the pace that these front runners are leading. Everybody else is in the 110s plus further back. Oh, Hoopy's obviously had some connection issues because he's rejoined. That may explain the reason why he's dropped 6 positions.
Yep, Hoopalicious is going to have a massive road to redemption here from P9 back up to the front.
So I'll tell you what as well. I mean, if you thought Stars was a star, he's the only man at the moment in the top 10, he's like the man in the top 13, running on medium tyres. So not only did he have that fantastic start, gaining, 14 positions at the moment, he's actually on the medium tyres. So he can just basically just drill it out longer and longer while the other guys are going to chew through those tyres. And he's going to be in the lead of this race in no time.
Yeah, it's definitely a good race from him today. And of course, these soft-tired front runners, they're not pulling away from each other and they're not gaining on each other. They're all still within that sort of gap. So that'll be slowing them down. And the guys behind, like Stars and Ruben, will be closing up. There could be a battle for the lead on aggregate positions once the pits equal themselves out.
I love it. This is why I love Brazil. This is why I miss this as being the last race of the year. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the last race of the year in Breakout Racing League, or in the real F1, because, you know, they obviously don't have the money to buy their way into the last race like they do in Abu Dhabi. Sorry about that. That's the truth, but certainly the truth. Money talks. We all know what walks. But at the moment, we all know who's leading this race, which is Dougie. We all know who's in P2, Julia and Cal the Great. They're all keeping very snug tight, 1, 2, and 3, all within basically a 1.5 second. You get a bit of a gap that is forming between the midfield guys. I would call them midfield guys at the moment, of Marcello, Ruben, Stars, and Simply, and then so forth. You get a bit of a gap forming into these drivers, but this is going to be a great three-way battle at the front. And it's also going to come down to the call of Jeff as to who's going to box first and who's not. Undercut, overcut, what's going to work for these guys?
Of course, there's going to be some alternate pit strategy because the Mercedes are close to each other, so they're going to have to either prioritize Dougie or prioritize Hoopalicious. Obviously, Hoopalicious has fallen back, but he hasn't fallen back far enough to make a double stack viable, which means there's going to be some serious issues in the pits if Dougie pits and then Hoopalicious pits straight afterward.
Exactly right. You can't afford a double stack, can you? These drivers also, it's one thing in Interlagos is a great track, but the overtaking really comes down to that back straight, doesn't it, into that first corner. That's where you want to just basically nail that final couple of corners as they're going to be approaching soon. Right now, this is it. This is the final corner here. This is where you want to, as run boy Julian, you want to just tuck up as snug as you possibly can behind that driver, and then that magical sound that you're going to hear in your ear any second right now, that magical beep, as they're going to tuck up close. It looks like they're almost going to enter the pit lane, but they're not. That DRS is going to give you so much of a tow down the main straight. It's not anything to do with the driver ahead of you doing anything wrong. It's just going to come down to that DRS drag reduction system giving you that. But Dougie is positioning that Mercedes in all the right places. Julian knows it as well. But mistakes can be made by drivers. We're only on lap 10. We're only 1/3 of the way through this race distance at the moment. And that's when the penalties will start kicking in, which is what you see from Mancello in P4 picking up his first 3-second penalty.
Yep, penalties, of course, in Brazil. The track limits are a little bit more forgiving than circuits like Mexico and Austria, but as we can see, Waffle Lorian and the other McLaren getting a 3-second time penalty there, they're definitely going to be a major factor in the finishing times for drivers in this race. And if the leaders start getting penalties, well, that opens another whole can of worms. That opens the door straight open to an unexpected finish. And it could be interesting if Dougie, Julian, or Cal get a penalty, and they'll have to pull away from the others, which isn't happening right now.
Well, speaking of Dougie's teammate at the moment, that's Hoopalicious, who's had a horrible start to this race, but he's trying to do redemption right now as he's battling with Simply. This is battling for points position, and he is just managed to make his way past the Ferrari. Yes, he does. So at least he can have something to take away, and he's just got Jack up ahead of him. Only within half a second there. Jack is 10 seconds away from Stars, who's had a fantastic start to the race. And that means that Hoopalicious can at least try to get on with it and try to catch up to the back. And here he is. He might even get 2 passes done in the same lap. And I think that he can if he can try to drive his way around the outside. Yes, he has. What a fantastic comeback, too, for the Mercedes driver. So it's redemption. He wants to prove to Dougie that he's not going to be the second driver in the Mercedes team. As you can see, the battle behind as well between Simply and Jack. So Jack could be losing potentially 2 positions. I don't think... Actually, it looks like Simply is actually going to lose that position as well, because Hennes is going to be driving around the inside, unless that's a call from the team. Is that team orders between the Ferraris? It may be. Does Simply have damage on his car? I can't quite see, but that's a Ferrari driver losing basically 2 positions in 1 lap. Anyway, well, Hoopalish is up to P7, Jack in P8. Hennes now in P9. Simply's running out the final points paying position at the moment. We're going to go up to Cole the Great at the moment. He's still on the back of this train behind Dougie.
Yeah, of course, you know, we saw Hoopalicious is one of the fastest overtakers on the grid, but cars are coming out of the pits. Of course, you can see Waffalorian came in there. I think he had a damaged front wing, so that's going to be another factor for these top 3. Are they going to navigate lapped cars effectively, or cars that have just come out of the pits? And you have Stars F1, of course, on the mediums. He's going to last a lot longer. Will they be able to hold the aggregate lead over Stars, or will Stars take the lead with the alternate strategy? A lot of things are going to be going through the minds of these top 3, and I don't blame them for being a lot more conservative with the overtaking opportunities. The one thing you don't want to disrupt in Interlagos is the rhythm of leading cars. So I think we could see an interesting battle here between the alternate strategy cars and the soft runners as we go in to the pits.
I think you're exactly right too. So how long are these soft tires going to last as well? Because the track temperature is still nice and 30 degrees. The air temperature, nothing's changed with the temperature here. You can see this little cloudy, but the weather forecast in the skies are showing it's still going to remain cloudy. Oh, as it looks like Hennes is making a little bit of a tangle. Jack, that's for P8 and P9. And that's the call from Jeff, the boxing. Julian's boxed first. He's gone to the hard tires. Mancello's also boxed in P6. That's the Williams driver. So is Julian taking that undercut or overcut, per se, as we call? So medium tires going on the Williams driver, running in P7 at the moment. Julian's gone to the hards. Do you think that, so on lap 13 and 36, do you think that's the right call?
So we've got 23 laps more to go. Oh, Kaganus retires from the session, interrupting my brief spiel about the tyres. But yeah, we've got a safety car's out, and Julian's going to be kicking himself. That's not what he wanted to see. Now, of course, it could be possible that some medium tyre runners, because medium tyres only last about 16 or 17 laps, but with 3 or 4 laps of saving tyres under the safety car, it could be possible that a soft to medium strategy is now viable. Of course, Julian's playing it safe, though, on the hards, so we'll have to see how this runs. But it's good for Stars, who basically gets his free pit stop on those old mediums now, and we'll have to see how that works out.
Exactly. That's worked perfectly, hasn't it, as Kangas has retired through that middle section that you saw that Hennes had trickiness with as well, that you'd mentioned before. I'm not sure what that corner was, but that was the one that catches the drivers off, and it caught Kangas off, unfortunately. So he's the first retirement of the session, which is the reason why we had the safety car. So that's given a free pit stop basically to Dougie, Cal, and that's definitely caught Julian off as he's made that pit stop earlier. He will retain the lead of this race. Will he or not, as Julian is running? Where's Julian at the moment running? Yeah, he's going to be actually behind Dougie and Cal. So that has compromised him. Ruben's going to be behind him in P4 as he's exiting the pit lane at the moment. Stasi has boxed. So those mediums, that strategy has not worked out for him, aside from his fantastic start to this race.
Yeah, it's all up in the air now, of course, with the safety car. Do you risk going on to the mediums and running out of tyre wear at the end of the race if the safety car is not as beneficial to you as you hoped? Or do you play it safe, go on the hards, lose track position, but you're secure in the knowledge of knowing that your tyres are going to make it to the end without some serious consequences?
Well, it was only a matter of when, not if, the safety car was deployed. I was actually surprised we're on lap 14 to 36 that it took that long, considering these drivers have been very, very good, haven't they? Like, I don't think many of them have to report to the FIA a little later on. It's been fantastic racing so far from all the drivers. I mean, very respectful of each other. And the only DNF that we've seen so far is because I believe it was just a driver error, but maybe I'm mistaken on that one. Perhaps Kangas can let us know in the chat if there was anything that occurred as to his retirement. But still, 19 drivers, and we're almost halfway through the distance at the moment, halfway through the race. Dougie leading this from Cal, from Julian, from Ruben, Stasi. And finally, Jack is making his pit stop. Maybe he should have done it a little earlier. He couldn't have been compromised. His teammate already boxed a couple of laps earlier. He's going to go on to the mediums, and he's had front wing change too from the Red Bull driver, we can see. And he's going to lose a few positions right now. A couple more, as you can hear those cars zooming past him. He's going to slot out behind Gauzy and remain in P13. Unlucky for some, as the drivers are going to start bunching up. They're still pretty well spread out on track at the moment. We do have a Racing Point crossing the line further back. That's probably Striffium, P16. Where's Striffium crossing the line? Yes, now. So he's the one that catches the back markers at the moment, as all the drivers are in Sector 2. I don't think we'll have a safety car call in this lap yet. Maybe we might, sometimes if it's only one driver that's outside of the field. We'll get that crossover point. This is what happens in the game as well. Let's run board Dougie, following the Mercedes. Dougie's in the Mercedes, so it's Mercedes 1 and 2 at this point, as Wolfie gets a 5-second penalty for a severe collision. We do see that a lot, don't we, during the league races where they get caught off guard under the safety car. They get the trigger any moment. Whether the safety car will be in this lap, probably won't. It won't at this point, so we will have to see both the Mercedes going into the next lap. That's the Mercedes, obviously, off the safety car, and then Dougie in. Who's leading this race? From Cal, from Julian, from Ruben, and Stasi's still in here, even though he has nursing a penalty. Actually, he has a drive-through penalty, I believe, as well, so that's going to hurt the driver that did the Australian driver, right? They did a fantastic job off the start. See if we can get that information. Yes, he has a 5-second penalty as well, so he's going to have to serve that. Oh, he's made his pit stop, so he has to get that 5 seconds added to the end of this race. That's going to hurt him a little later.
It could be interesting because we have, of course, seen that the safety car by Codemasters is by no means the most stable piece of game design. And personally, I've had a few issues with the safety car where a car has hit me, or there's been contact on someone's screen and no one else's, and I've still got the 5-second penalty. So it could be possible that Stars has not actually gained a 5-second penalty, and it was just the game, not differentiating between contact and an actual severe collision. So he could have that removed by the stewards, but it's too early to say.
So if that's King, exactly. I completely agree with you. I've seen that multiple times. So if that's Lucas in the YouTube chat saying nothing happened, made it on purpose, was much too tilted, lost a wing, started on a lagging drive and made myself a mistake, and I crashed myself. So there you go. That's Kangas there. Thank you very much for reporting that to us, Kangas. We'd like to get that information to everybody that's watching the race. Unfortunate for you, sir. Safety car is going to be in this lap because they are all bunched up. Let's keep an eye on Dougie. Let's see who's going to be the one that does the restarts of restarts now, because we are officially over the halfway point of this race. And don't go anywhere, because it's going to be an absolutely cracking restart, an absolutely cracking race in this Breakout League racing. Let's go. What do you think? Calls out there, guys, for your driver to win this race as Dougie bunches everybody up and then with green light racing.
Yeah, you can see there the top three being very conservative in the first quarter. No dives, no bumps. But Cal and Dougie getting a little 5-second penalty each. Stars, double overtake right there around a ghost car, and Ruben into fourth. That is absolutely fantastic. Ruben might have to go back at him, but Julian is now fending off a ghosted car, and of course Starzy will be catching back up to him.
Yeah, fantastic from Stars. He's not making an overtake, but he also nursing that penalty. They may get removed, obviously, in the leagues. That's what's debated later on. That's up for the stewards. There is a ghosted car, so that will throw everybody off. Who is ghosted? That's the AlphaTauri, actually. It's a back marker, so that definitely throws them off visually, even though they can't collide with that car. But as a driver, when you're trying to focus so much at this level, at this commitment that these drivers are doing, and these aren't no slouch drivers, these are the best drivers in the virtual world, anything that can visually throw you off at the moment is going to cause a pain to you, as Dougie's going to restart this race. Have a 1 second gap, pulls out of the DRS. That's going to be crucial for him, because Cotters at the moment, who's running a P17, is throwing a spatter in the mix. He gets out of the way for Julian. That's very sportsmanship of him. But still, somewhere along the line, it always throws those drivers off, that ghosted car. On lap 18 of 36.
Yep, of course, it's the midpoint of the race now, and we're seeing a few penalties come up. We had Striffian with a 3 second, Cappy with a 3 second. Of course, I think a lot of what's going to happen with the race results is going to depend on who doesn't get penalties. Of course, Julian is the only one of the top 4 who doesn't have a penalty, and Ruben in 5th behind doesn't have a penalty. So keeping it clean, keeping it conservative, and keeping it consistent, the 3 C's, that's what you need to have in a track like Brazil, where finishes are very close, and 3 seconds could mean the difference between you getting the win and you being demoted to the second step of the podium.
Yeah, penning up the penalty corner, the naughty corner that you get from the corner cutting. And looks like Cole the Goat has called something absolutely wrong. Maybe the goat's loose. He has. Does he have damage? No, he hasn't, but he's made a mistake somewhere. We didn't catch it, but that's the driver who's running in P2 all the way down to P13. And now P14 is under big pressure. His tyres are cold, obviously. He made a mistake somewhere along the line. We missed it. And now he's struggling at the back, out of the points even, as Striffin manages to get past. Not quite yet, actually. Yes, he does. Striffin, obviously, with those fresher tyres, Calder Gate, probably absolutely fuming right now on that car. DRS is already enabled, as well, as you can see. We're going to go further up the field there, because it looks like Ruben, the Renault, is all on the back of Stasi, who's making his way up into P5-3, but nursing that 5 second penalty that may get removed later on. Who knows? That's up to the stewards. As with any of the penalties that these drivers get, you're going to check that out and Breakout Racing League. That will be all decided later on the race. But at the moment, all we can do is produce the entertainment these drivers are giving us. As Waffle has retired from the session. Where's Waffle? Stopped out. It looks like he might have retired actually in the pits. So maybe something was wrong with there, but here we are, lap 19 of 36, and Ruben is all on the back of Stars, is all on the back of Julian, and looks like actually there's a pass between P2 and P3. Oh, there's a slide from Stasi, and that's compromised Julian. Julian had to go nowhere, and Julian's had to lift off as well. Hippo, guess what? Hoppo is up into P3.
Of course, we saw Ruben there. He's gone all the way down. I think the contact there forced him into the wall. He's lost wing, and that's it. His race, so promising, and that's it. He's done. He's 13th, and he's going to have to come into the pits to replace that wing, so it's a disaster. Hooperlicious, though. Incredible. Look, that redemption. The ingredients are on the table, and he's cooking up a storm. He's pulling back through the grid. He is P3 now, thanks to Julian and Stasi's mistake. Stars, of course, just slightly ahead. Hooperlicious, though, gaining enough time. Will he be in DRS? We're not sure. Dougie having an absolutely dominant lead. Of course, he Barrichello'd the restart, which worked out really well for him, and he just pulled away.
Absolutely fantastic. You mentioned he's missed a redemption, isn't he? He comes back, and he has to come back. He's had a horrible start to this race, but I'll tell you one thing he's had is a fantastic comeback to this race, as now Julian is going to be side by side with the Mercedes driver of Hoopy, so whether or not Julian can try to bring it on the inside, then Julian has spun! So another spin in Brazil, as he was battling with Hoopy. I didn't get the right camera angle for it, but there was definitely some sort of contact, maybe a contact between the two drivers, or maybe just Julian made a little bit of an error on himself. Hennis is now up into P4, battling in the back of Hooperlicious. So Hoopy's up into the podium position at the moment. Manages to fight his way back, as you mentioned, Mr. Redemption himself. I'm going to pull up the actual tyre information too. I think the tyre information is actually there already, so there it is. We got softs versus hards. And at the moment, the hard tyres are doing pretty good. Although Dougie doesn't have to worry about that. He's 6.8 seconds ahead of everybody else. Dougie is worrying what's going on behind him at the moment. But Dougie's nursing a 5 second penalty, as well as Stars. So that might come into play a little later, as Hoopy, at the moment, is the net leader of this race.
Yep, Hooperlicious, of course, being a strong contender, actually, for driver of the day. Of course, he had that disconnection, which forced him all the way down to P9, P10, and he's put a masterclass of a redemption here. Defending from Hennes, who tries to set up a move, but he's not quite there yet, and he just slots him behind Hoopalicious. Hoopalicious, of course, will be hoping to break away, drag out the DRS from Hennes, and stop Hennes from battling with him and slowing him down enough to catch Star Z. Star Z not really pulling away from Hoopalicious here. The gap's reasonably stable at 1.3 and 1.4 seconds, so it could be possible that if Star Z makes a couple of mistakes, Hoopalicious will be all over the back of him, and that could mean P2 for Hoopalicious.
It could certainly be as well. Julian's had to box and replace that front wing, which means he goes onto the soft tyres. So look out for Julian. He's going to be blistering fast, but Oavi's got to make his way through the field as he's now sliding back into P14 at the moment. Battle we're watching with Jack and Gauzier at the moment. P7, P8. That's for crucial points positions. These guys are on 3-second penalties at the moment, so they're only serving corner cutting penalties as almost everybody else on the field at the moment. It simply gets another penalty as well that might hurt him later in running in P5. He's on 9 seconds of penalties, so he's going to be in big pressure. Cal's going to be definitely taking that position away from him, as well as Gauzy and even Jack and Theo at the moment that we're watching the battle with. The Haas driver just behind the Red Bull. We're going to have to go further up to Hennes. Is getting all on the back of Hoopalicious again.
Yeah, one thing that Hennes simply cannot afford to do is do what Julian did, Star Z did, and make a mistake and cause a collision. So he needs to stay behind Hoopalicious. Hoopalicious gaining now again on Star Z, and hopefully he'll be able to lead Hennes forward, and Hennes can use the DRS to his advantage to pass Hoopalicious and then pass Star Z.
Yeah, they're also catching on the back of Starzy as well. Starzy's actually losing a little bit of time as well to these guys. They're on 8 laps of hard tyres, these 3 drivers at the moment. Dougie's on the medium tyres. That may fall off the cliff a little bit for Dougie later on, but he's got that nice little 8-second barrier. He doesn't have to worry about it. Ruben picks up another penalty. The DRS beep is enabled for Hennes. You can hear it as he goes down the main straight into Lagos for the 24th time. And the virtual safety car's been deployed because of... I don't see anybody struck it on the track at the moment. There's a Red Bull. That looks like to be Adren, who's out of the session at the moment. So the car's been retrieved by the brilliant Brazilian marshals. So it will be race on to get rid of all the carbon fiber bits. I'm not sure. It looks like the driver actually made an error himself. But it's game on. It's race on. And we're going to have a look at Cal the Great because he's very close as well to the back of Simply. And there was a pass between... Actually, Capri is boxing to go to the softs as well. Why not take a gamble when you're that far back? Get the pace on. Plenty of time to come back through the field and try to bring it towards the end and get some crucial points for your team. Julian obviously had boxed earlier with damage. No penalties as well. Julian's definitely going to come and play. But this battle between Simply and Cal is for P5 and P6. Both of them nursing a 3-second penalty. Actually, sorry, Simply's nursing a 9-second penalty. Cal is nursing a 5-second penalty. So that's going to come to his favour later on. But down the main straight, this should look taking candy from a baby, and it will be, because that slip-line street, he got the best exit he could possibly get. Cal did out of that corner, and that means he's going to get job done and move on to it, because he has to get on with Hennes. That's a little further up the road, 4 seconds, but Hennes, remember, has no penalties. So it's going to be a tall order. He has to get past and try to make up that 5-second difference. As further back, there's passes between, looks like the Haas driver and the Red Bull driver. That means Theos, the Haas driver in P8, gets past Jack. And Ruben SA, after making a pit stop, going to the hards. Quite surprising, actually, that the Renault driver actually is boxing. Striffium's boxing as well. Oh, Striffium's actually boxing because he's done 10 laps on those medium tyres. Maybe they're serving some damage.
I'm pretty sure that's damage for Striffium. He dropped from 11th to 13th. And, of course, soft tyres are meant to last 11 to 12 laps. So
Simply's retired.
Yep, that's a disaster. He was running quite firmly in the mid-pack. Ouch.
He was. See if we can see Simply on the track there. No, the car's already been returned to the marshals. So Striffium has retired from P9. He's retired. It looked like it was retired just between Sector 2 and Sector 3 on the track, so I'm not quite sure what that corner was, what happened there, but Dougie still will retain that nice 9-second gap there. But look at Hoopalicious at the moment, getting on the back of Stasi, who's running in P2. And let's have a look at those position changes as well, because that is fantastic, isn't it? If we can pull that up for a second. 18 positions Stasi has done up into P2. The top 3 drivers at the moment, as you can see, have only made one stop. It's actually the top 4 drivers have made one stop, 5 drivers. But the position changes, that's a huge gain from him. And Thos, as well as Gauzy, up 11 positions. So
yeah, of course, these are the guys who didn't have a great qualifying. Gauzy didn't get to set a lap. He started, I do believe that was 18th or 19th, and now he's 8th. So he's continuing a great streak of good race performances as Hoopalicious gets past Star Z. Star Z, of course, he is just not able to get back at Hoopalicious. He'll have DRS though for the next lap or so, and he's just got to stay within that 1 second gap to have any chance of re-overtaking the Mercedes.
So I don't know about you, but it's looking like 2020 Formula 1 all over again, isn't it? Mercedes are leading this race 1 and 2 as Hoopalicious makes his way back up through the field after a horrible start to this race. But he's proving that that's the reason why he is in a Mercedes, as Julian says, the fastest lap is what he expect, because Julian's on that fresh rubber. But Julian's got a lot of work to do if he wants to get some more points for the McLaren team, because he's the only McLaren driver in the current 10, because his teammate Waffle is unfortunately out of this race. Anyway, the battle between Stasi after losing that position to the Mercedes, and now we're definitely looking like a regular F1 2020 race, because the Mercedes are kind of just running away with this one at the moment.
Yep, of course, T. Holtz in the Haas, he's got a decent gap back. Ruben on the softs also involved in the crash with Julian, setting the fastest lap there, so those two are going to be quite a way behind. But Hennes has a 15-second lead over T. Holtz in the Haas. That's Hennes as well, just as I mentioned him, 3-second time penalty. He's not going to want that. But then again, he is 4 seconds behind Star Z, so I don't think that's going to make any meaningful changes to his race results unless something big happens in the next 8 laps.
Did you commentate Curse Poor Hennes, as you spoke about it? At least they're not spinning anymore when we go on board with the drivers. That's all I'm happy about. As Gauzy's battling with Jack at the moment for that 7th position at the moment. Now the situation, the penalties are both Gauzy and Jack, that's Gauzy in P8 that we're on board with, and Jack ahead of him in P7. They have 3 seconds penalties. Practically everybody's nursing a 3-second penalty apart from the top 3 that are not serving any 3-second penalties. However, Dougie's serving a 5-second penalty, and Stasi is serving a 5-second penalty as well. There may be other 5-second penalties applied, but all I can see on my telemetry at the moment is just the corner cutting. We'll get that up as we get closer into the race, because we're only on lap 29.36. Anything can still happen. Predictions out there for your driver of the day, and also predictions for your who's going to win the race. Let us know, please, on YouTube. As it looks like Gauzy's getting very close to the back of Jack. Is he going to try to set up the inside here? He could. That's a brave, bold move. I'll tell you what, it's job done. And that means Jack's also going to fall into the clutches of Mancello. That's some... Go ahead.
Sorry. That was an absolutely fantastic move there from Gauzy. It was ballsy from Gauzy, but he made it work. And that's Marancello. Is he going to do it around the outside? No, he's dropped back. Oh, there's contact. Jack 5 driving Marancello off the track to the outside. That was a little too aggressive on the defense, but that means Jack 5 has the poorer exit. Marancello just going to sail past him now. Up the inside. Nope, Jack 5 still staying. There's a little bit more contact. Marancello backing off a bit there. He doesn't want to get involved. But that was an absolutely fantastic move from Gauzy, and he's had a strategy masterstroke because, of course, he's only done 2 laps on the softs. They're definitely going to make it to the end.
Yeah,
he could definitely do it to the end of this race. Fantastic.
You said it, Gauzy ballsy, wasn't it? Right there. It was totally ballsy. I thought it was with all the bad puns, mate. You got it hooked up as well. Call the goat. At the moment, it's getting very, very close at the back of Theoz. I can never even ask his name. Let's see what we can do. The Alfa Romeo driver. Down the back straight with the DRS enabled. As you can see, the back wings open. He's going to be taking past the Haas driver. What can you do as a driver, really? with that slipline speed, you basically have to just judge your braking point as you got that extra speed. You have to brake a little earlier in the braking point, and that means the Alfa Romeo driver can get on with it, but he's 17 seconds down the road from Hennes.
Yeah, of course, Holtz there.
Oh, there's a spin from Jack. That's Jack Galila Eager there. Julian's a main gaining position as well, and it looks like Hennes and Stasi are also making a change up front as well. Stasi all over the place. He's lost a couple of positions. Something's wrong with the Racing Point driver. Hennes has got past. We missed that action because we were following the other pass overtake that occurred. So 2 spins from 2 drivers in 1 lap on lap 31. That's something they want to cross off their lap list. As Stasi was,
Here he comes into the pits with wing damage, of course. That's a disaster. He was a surefire shout for my driver of the day today with his incredible move from last to second. But yeah, disaster. As Julian actually gains on Marancello. Of course, Marancello, Julian, and Jack were all bunched up, and that was the collision that cost Jack P8. So Julian now with the DRS, he's just going to slide right up the inside of Marancello. Easy as you like, pick him off, and that will be P7 for Julian.
Yeah, that's fresh tyres versus the soft tyres versus the mediums. I'd expect Julian to be on pace, but when he can catch Gauzy, because Gauzy's got 4 laps on those soft tyres, as well as Cal, the GOAT, running in P4. I tell you what, but Theos running in P5 at the moment. It's going to be under big pressure, isn't he, from these drivers behind him with fresh tyres and 5 laps to go in this exciting Brazilian race. Dougie, well, he's probably not scared of anyway at the moment. He's got a 7-second gap to his teammate as well. That's done a fantastic job driving his way back to the field. And both of those drivers, well, Hippolytus is not nursing any penalties at this point. Dougie is nursing a 5-second penalty, but he's got a 7-second lead, so he's looking comfortable to win this race. But Mercedes, well, you can see Toto Wolff, even though he doesn't get that excited, but he will be excited basically in 5 laps' time.
Definitely going to happen. And Julian, actually, we can go up to Julian and we can see there that he's just within the 1-second gap of Gauzy. So it's going to be an interesting duking out position for P6. Julian, of course, on pace is faster than Gauzy, but he has 4 lap older tyres. Will Gauzy be able to hold him off, or will Julian make it past with P6? It'll be an interesting redemption, of course, for Julian, who after that contact dropped all the way back to P13 or 14. So, like Hooperlicious, he's having a redemption race, and he could make it back up to P6.
That's what you like to see, isn't it? Drivers that don't give up, never surrender, especially in a long race. We've only had 5 retirements at this point. A very good Brazilian race, very respectful for drivers. We've only had 1 safety car, a couple of virtual safety cars, but look at this. Yes, I said Julian on the fresh rubber. Well, his rubber is actually a little bit more worn than Gauzy, but Julian obviously was used to be battling at the front of this field and having to make that error. Oh, around the outside, just driving it. Does it look like Gauzy even lifted there? Gauzy's going to be compromised as well by Mancello. He has. Gauzy's lost 2 positions in 1 corner.
Gauzy the ballsy, he's had some sort of disconnection in his brain there. He braked about 3 years too early there for that corner, and as a result, both Marancello and Julian have got the drop on him into lap 33. That's a major disaster for the Renault driver, and he'll be hoping to get back up front, cursing his bad mistake there.
Yes, he might be a little bit upset by that one, but I tell you, these guys are absolutely having a fun race. I hope they're having fun. We're having fun, right? Air conditioned. They're sweating. They're sweating their you-know-what off in those cars in Brazil, but we're sitting in the air-conditioned booth, just sitting here sipping on some brews as we're watching this fun race. We only have a couple more laps to go. Dougie still in this one. Dougie should be on the bat to win this easily. Well, not easily. He'll have a 2-second gap, I think, to Hooperlicious, who has done a fantastic job to drive back at this one, but it ain't over yet until that checkered flag is waving. And Kaio knows that one. He's got Jack up ahead. These guys are very similar on tyres, although Kaio's and the Haas drivers' tyres gets a little bit slippery out of that corner. He's going to climb up the hill versus Haas versus Red Bull. Both of them nursing 8 penalties as well. And Coyote should be able to make candy from Baby on the Red Bull driver. As the Red Bull driver's not going to leave a lot of room, but he's still going to allow enough room for the Haas driver. And that can he get through here safely? We've seen a few spins here. And there's another one. The Haas driver, a little bit of a tap. Well, there's another one for the stewards to report later on. So KO is going to have to get on with it again. But I think KO might actually... It gets a penalty from it. So that means that the situation between those two drivers are 9 seconds of penalties. And I'm going to pull it up actually right now to let everybody know what the penalty situation is, because I don't think Tyler's really going to make too much of a play now, as we only have a couple more laps to go.
Yep, of course, we've got Julian. This is going to be the real crush. Julian in P6 has no penalties. T. Holtz, of course, on the older tyres, has 3 seconds of penalties, and Julian is just 3.1 seconds off. So it is an absolute battle here for P5. Julian, of course, looks like he might just stick this one away in the bank. But T. Holtz, though, I do believe he didn't qualify so well, 10th or maybe 11th. So it's been a fantastic race. And, of course, this is his first race in the league, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, it's a brilliant debut from him.
Exactly. Stars could kind of come back at the moment as well, too. Remember our driver that did such a fantastic job. He's now almost within DRS race of Gauzy. He's got 3 seconds of penalty, so he should be able to easily get past Gauzy. But can he get up to P7 where Mancello is? We know Julian will definitely improve on his situation if he can keep within 3 seconds and get that P5 position. Stasi at the moment is definitely looking at P7 if he can get on with it up the track, and make sure he might have you under a lot of warnings as well. We don't see the warnings. We only see the penalties up there. He's got 3 seconds. Both the drivers ahead of him have 6 seconds. So if Stasi can do it, it can be the comeback drive, because that Australian driver has fantastic amount of that position gains that he had. Last lap of the race. Predictions out there. What's going to happen, guys? Here it is. And I think that's definitely a job done for the Racing Point driver. Stars making his way up into P8, which means ultimately he will get P7. He won't be able to beat Julian, because Julian's not nursing any penalties whatsoever. And let's go on board with Julian, actually, because he's all on the back now of the other Haas driver. It's going to be an exciting, thrilling finish to this race. Breakout Racing League. This is where the action's at. Full 20 grid. Only 5 retirements. It's Brazil. Only have one more round to go. Dougie gets a 5-second penalty for unserved. Well, we knew that already. Dougie's finishing. We're going to go actually on board with the leaders as they cross the line. Hoopy's going to get P2. Dougie has already served that penalty. And Hennes will slot into the P3 position. Kyle should get that P4, no problems. He's got plenty of gap. And whether or not Julian will definitely slot ahead of the Haas driver. As they are now, you can see him line astern. Even though they're on track, Julian's behind him, but he will just slot ahead of the Haas driver. Thoughts?
Up to the line,
yep.
And wow.
And Marcello.
I mean, obviously.
Yep.
Obviously, we can't tell the real gap, but that looked like thousandths of a second there. KO gets past Jack 5. Of course, Jack obviously had 5 seconds extra penalties for that crash just 2 laps ago. But KO takes the final points position for Haas. Jack follows him, best of the rest for Red Bull.
Yeah, that's fantastic, isn't it? Congratulations to Dougie. What an absolute fantastic race. Now, he did this on 13 laps. Stasi, obviously, he has to be our driver of the day, right? He has to be our driver of the day. And thank you, Cody, for that one. Dougie, do you walk like an Egyptian, sir? You well deserve it. Now, these top 2 drivers were the ones that did 13 laps on the softs. They did 23 laps. Now, Dougie did 23 laps on the mediums. And our P2 driver, which I'm just trying to remember, the Hoopalicious as well, did 23 laps on the hards. Now, Hoopalicious didn't have that penalty at all. And obviously, penalties may be reversed later on with the stewards, because most of those 5-second penalties were served probably under the virtual safety car conditions, or the safety car conditions, as you expect. You want to read through the grid there for us?
Yep, so we've got Dougie winning the race there from Hoopalicious. We've got Hennes in 3rd, Cal the Goat 4th, Julian 5th, T. Holtz for his debut in 6th, Star ZF1, our driver of the day, 7th, Marincello 8th in the Williams, Gauzier in the Renault 9th from 19th place, and KO in the Haas 10th, rounding out the points positions. Jack 5 gets the best of the rest, followed by Cappy, Ruben, Codders, Stryfium, and from then on, there's no finishes. Now, don't go away because we could have our podium finishes in for the interviews here. So stick with us.
I hope so. I certainly hope so. We'll be back in a minute.
All right, here we are for the podium interviews for the BRL PC Tier 1 Brazilian Grand Prix. So, first, we're going to be talking to our race winner, Dougie Falcons. Dougie, you had a pretty easy time of it. You had a good lead there, and you didn't seem to be troubled all the race long. You made the mediums last 23 laps. How was that last stint there for you?
It was pretty good. The race was overall quite interesting, actually. It was kind of a three-way battle at the start. Had a decent start, overtook Julian on the first VSC restart, and I was just managing the gap really. I wasn't really pushing overly hard. I was just trying to let the soft tires last a little bit longer, so I was planning to go on the mediums anyway, but I was just trying to make them go longer. And yeah, when I went on the mediums, it just felt comfortable. The safety car helped the situation, obviously, but yeah, it was really comfortable from pretty much start to finish.
Yeah, excellent racing there from you, of course. You didn't seem to be having any trouble, but you did have that 5-second penalty. Could you give us any insight into what caused that under the safety car?
Yeah, I was just about to start the safety car restart, and I was just trying to warm up my tires to let's get going. And I think Cal hit the back of me, well, just slightly tapped the back of me, and if anything, and it just gave us a 5-second penalty, which was kind of undeserved because he shouldn't have deserved that either. So, yeah, it was just that. And,
Go ahead.
Once that happened, I
Here
had
we
to
are.
realize I had
It's
to actually use the mediums
5
a bit.
red lights, and they're off.
But no, it was
Julian
fine.
getting quite a clean getaway,
It
but
was just
Hooperlicious
small tap,
behind
and it
him,
just gave us
obviously
this
in the
prompt penalty,
slipstream.
but hopefully that could be removed at some point.
Yep, Codemasters at work there again with their buggy safety cars. But congratulations on your win, leading home a Mercedes 1-2, and fantastic job.
Thank you.
Now we move on to our second place finisher. That's Hooperlicious, who battled with internet issues that sent him down to P9 and made it all the way back up into second place. Fantastic race. Talk us through that for you, Hooperlicious.
Yeah, thank you. It wasn't really my internet. It was because my overtake was stuck on since the start of the race. So after like I think lap 5 maybe, I had to leave the session and reset the game. And then once I got back in around like lap 10, I think everything went back to normal. And yeah, just had to fight back from there. And I think I went back pretty well. Almost got the win, 2 tenths with this penalty, but I'll take it after what happened at the start.
Yeah, you've done really well to come back from P9 to P2. Of course, you have experienced their last race in Mexico. You were P13 and fought your way to the front of the grid. Do you think it was easier or harder fighting your way up from the middle to the front?
This time it was a lot harder because most of everyone was on different compound, which was the medium tire, and I was on the hard tire. so it was kind of hard to get past them, but I did get past them at the end, so it
Yeah,
didn't really bother me too
yeah.
much.
My question was to Hoopy because you boxed at the same lap as well as Dougie, but you switched to the hards, whereas Dougie went to the mediums. Was there's a choice why you went to the hards specifically rather than the mediums?
Honestly, I didn't know because I've never done a race around Brazil in a league race, so yeah, I was just guessing it was hards. So yeah.
Well, I mean, you're fantastic, obviously for P2. There's nothing wrong with that, bro. And that's well, if that's the pace you're going to set, and this is you're not used to these league racing. Well, wow, look out! Definitely look out for you, sir, because you certainly got some serious pace.
Thank you.
With that was Hoopalicious, who came second, and of course he'll have 18 more points, and he, I do believe, has won the Drivers' Championship before the final round of the season. So congratulations! Before we get
Oh,
on
that's
to
true.
that, I do believe so. That's 19 plus 18, so that's 37-point lead over Exia, I think.
Oh, Hoopy, congratulations, sir! Come on, congratulations, mate.
I
Get a
have won
hand
the
up.
Well
I
done,
did
mate.
officially, and yeah, awesome.
Yeah, mate.
Fantastic.
Champagne all around. We're gonna be partying in your suite later on. Let's go
Yeah,
down to
well
the
done,
Rio
mate.
Beach at least. Let's get out into Lagos. Let's get down to the beach.
Get down to
Congratulations.
Copacabana, have some beers.
Yeah.
All right, thanks guys.
After that celebration of our impromptu drivers champion, we have Mr. Third Place Hennes, who had a very, very good race, actually, making his way up, very consistent, and he made his way into third, just like in Mexico. Talk us through that for you, Hennes. How was that?
Yeah, it was good actually. I suffered a drive-through on the second VSC. I went down to 10th, and then luckily the safety car came out, which brought me right back into the pack. And then yeah, I just had consistent pace on the hard tires. I don't know how it planned out, but look, Brazil was one of my favorite tracks. So yeah.
Yeah, we did notice. I commented on the stream about how you must have been practicing because you had some really good pace out there today. So well done. Of course,
Thank
this was the race of the comebacks. Obviously, you had your drive-through penalty coming back from 10th to on the podium. That's a fantastic job. How did you feel on that last stint? How was the overtaking for you?
It was good actually. I think there was trouble. Like Ruben, Julian, Calvigo they had trouble in turn one, so that's where I gained most of the places. But I had consistent pace, so I think I did well.
Yeah, you did indeed. Well done in your third place. Fantastic job.
Hennes,
Thank you.
mate, you were impressing more and more. I remember following you earlier during the even back in March and stuff like that. You just improved so much, mate. You were really getting into the absolute A grade. You are the top of the notch, and I expect you to go faster and faster and faster, mate. Hats off to you. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
A big congratulations then to all our podium finishers of the BRL Tier 1 PC Brazilian Grand Prix. But I do believe that will be the end of it here. I've been Jeb, and I've been commentating with Biggles today, and we'll see you for the championship finale